Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. Chen Yang here, and I hope you're doing so well. So if you've been wanting to build on muscle without putting on too much body fat, this is the video for you. In today's video, we're going to be going over the 4 biggest mistakes I see people make in a muscle building journey, in a bulking phase, that leads to them putting on a lot more body fat than they like and not as much muscle mass. So if you're curious about how you can lean bulk properly, you want to keep watching. First off, let's cover what a bulk is. This term is thrown around a lot, but what does it actually mean? In the simplest terms, it is a period of time where you are eating slightly more than your body needs, a calorie surplus, whilst also pairing this with resistance training or weight training so that you're putting your body in the best position possible to put on muscle. Now, this sounds simple in theory, just eat a little bit more. However, people tend to make a handful of mistakes that end up causing them to put on a lot more body fat rather than muscle mass. This can also lead to them feeling pretty uncomfortable in their building phase, and it's also just not optimal for your health if you're putting on a lot of unnecessary body fat. So with that being said, let's dive into the most common mistakes that people make on a muscle building phase that causes them to put on a lot more body fat rather than muscle mass. Now, the first mistake is not being lean enough before starting a building phase. Now, there's a few reasons why this would be problematic. Firstly, as your level of body fat increases, your body's ability to put on lean muscle mass decreases. Essentially, you become less efficient at building muscle. Secondly, if you're not lean enough before you start your building phase, you're most likely going to have to commit to a longer dieting period afterwards because your starting position already is in a place where you have some body fat to lose. Obviously, during a building phase, you are going to put on a little bit of body fat, so naturally at the end of your bulk, you're going to end up having a lot more body fat than you like, versus if you were to have started your bulking phase in a place where you were really lean, where you did have that buffer room to be putting on some body fat in the process. Now, thirdly is, if you're not lean enough before you start your bulk, you'll most likely get to a point a lot earlier in your bulk where you feel uncomfortable and you don't want to continue the bulk for any longer. Now, it takes time to build on muscle, and it does take time for us to be dedicated towards this period. So if you're starting in a position where you wouldn't be happy to put on a little bit of body fat, you would be comfortable to do so, then I would highly recommend you go into a dieting phase first. Get rid of the foundational levels of body fat before you start a bulking phase. So when you're lean bulking, you do want to start off lean, and I go through this in a lot more detail in my skinny fat to tone video that I'll link up here for you guys, breaking down basically what you should be doing first if you are wanting to build on muscle and get that tone look. Now, the second biggest mistake I see people making is that they're putting on way too much body fat compared to muscle mass. Now, this comes from the mistake of just simply eating too much. A lot of people enter a building phase thinking they can eat everything they see, right? They have to eat a massive surplus of calories, and that is just not the case. It's also not about just having more protein. Just having more protein is not going to then enable your body just to build on more muscle. You do need your minimum amount of protein. I would recommend 0.8 to 1 gram per pound of body weight, of lean body weight, but beyond that, you do not need to be stuffing yourself with protein. In fact, when your protein is way too high, this can often cause a lot of havoc on your digestive system as well. So just aim for 0.8 grams to 1 gram per pound of lean body weight, and then spread the rest of your calories to your other macronutrients such as your fats and your carbohydrates. Beyond the slight surplus that you really need, when you do actually eat a lot more food, those calories are just going to go towards putting on body fat rather than muscle mass. And then again, that is just going to take a lot more time in the dieting phase to get rid of. So what would I recommend in terms of a slight surplus? I'd say start at around 10 to 20% above your maintenance calories, see how you go, track your weight, track your energy, your progress at the gym, and then adjust from there. Now, the third mistake I see a lot of people making is the quality of food choices they go for. As soon as they go into building phase, they think that they can just eat every sort of junk food they see. They end up overindulging in a lot of highly processed and low quality foods. Now, if you've been on my channel for long enough, you know that I preach 80-20 balance. It's not about just eating good, clean foods, but it's also not about taking the piss, because at the end of the day, you want to be looking after your health as well. Yes, you're in a muscle building phase. Yes, you're bulking. Yes, perhaps your calories are higher, but that is not an excuse to go out and just eat junk, because your body's going to feel very different when it has higher quality foods versus lower quality foods. 2,000 calories is not just 2,000 calories depending on the quality of foods you're having. Yes, you could be hitting your proteins, your carbohydrates, and your fats, but you want to be making sure that they're coming from quality sources so that your energy is good, you feel great, your skin's great, and again, you're nourishing your body from the inside as well. Now, the last and probably the most relatable mistake that a lot of people go through is that they don't have enough patience in the building phase. They go into a bulk and then 2 months later, maybe even 3 months later, they're already ready to diet, if they even last that long. The thing is, building muscle takes a long time, and it's definitely not as easy to track progress versus a dieting phase. When you're dieting week on week, you'll probably see or feel some results when you're on the right plan, but with a building phase, it may take months for you to really actually see or feel a difference. You may feel a little fluffier because you will be putting on a little bit of body fat, which is going to cover the muscle that you are building. So you don't really reap the kind of results in terms of what you can see until you start the dieting phase afterwards. Now, that can be really demotivating for a lot of people, and they end up quitting, or they just don't commit to a building phase long enough. And what happens is they end up running in circles. They bulk for a few months and then cut again, and they spend the whole year just bulking, cutting, but without actually a proper approach and a proper timeline in place. So then at the end of the year, they're kind of still stuck at square one, where they still look the same, they still feel the same, and it just seems like they're running in circles. So when it comes to a lean bulk and actually making the progress you want to be tracking your data. So you want to be tracking your weight, your photos, checking photos to see actually how you're looking, because your body composition would be changing, and your weight isn't always going to be the most accurate representation of where you're at in your journey. And if you feel like things are kind of steering off course, maybe your weight's flying up way too quickly, then you know how to adjust things and manipulate things. If, for example, you're losing weight, then you know that clearly you are not in a slight calorie surplus and it's time to bump up the calories slightly. So it is important that you are tracking your data, you're tracking visuals as well, also how you're feeling, your energy, your strength at the gym. All of those are signs of you making progress in this journey, and also are variables for you to track to then know where you need to make adjustments to continue making progress. Now, often our clients will spend at least over half a year in a building phase with us after a dieting phase where they've leaned down, and then we start reverse dieting them and getting them just through a building phase where they're enjoying more food, enjoying more flexibility around their food as well, but also just dedicating a prolonged period towards getting stronger and building on the muscle they need in order to tone up, which I know for a lot of females is the end goal, but it's always a struggle getting there because they don't have a proper plan in place towards a building phase, nor do they commit to a building phase. They're constantly still stuck in that dieting phase, which they also have not had a plan for. So they're constantly in this dieting cycle and never really end up being able to be in a position to be able to build on more muscle, which is going to then give them the tone look that they like. Now, on top of this, it usually doesn't just take one building phase and one dieting phase to get to your dream tone body. Your body composition is actually going to improve over time as you go through various cycles of dieting and then building and then dieting and building. And now this can sound a bit mundane to some people, but that is also why I always preach enjoying the journey. The outcome is just an outcome. Once you get there, you can always become better. You can always have a better body composition, right? You can always get stronger, and there are always other goals that you probably like to achieve. Bigger glutes. There's no limit to that. But no, what I'm saying is that you have to enjoy the journey, or else you're never going to get to the outcome. If you don't enjoy the building phase, if you don't enjoy the dieting phase, you're not going to get to that final outcome. This is why it's so important that you have a plan that you actually enjoy, a plan that fits into your life, because again, your fitness journey and your fitness goals do not exist in isolation of all the other things going on in your life. And this is something I tell all our clients and all the ladies I speak to. You have all these other things going on in life. You might be a mom, you might be a nurse with shift work, you might be traveling a lot, you might be studying, and you have to take that into account. And you need a plan that actually takes all that into account and designs your fitness around that. That way you can actually reach your fitness goals whilst being realistic with all the other things that are demanding your time and energy in life. And then that is the only way that you're actually going to reach those fitness goals and sustain them, because this plan is sustainable. So all in all, it really is an endless journey of improving your body composition. These are the 4 biggest mistakes that I have seen people make. So I hope that you can take this away if you are going into a building phase, to know that, hey, first off, it's gonna take time, really commit. Secondly, you don't need to be in a massive calorie surplus. 10 to 20% over your maintenance would be a great place to start. Don't dirty bulk, so don't just eat all the junk you feel like. Remember to nourish your body. Health is wealth. And obviously then the first mistake and the first tip that I went through was not starting your bulking phase in a lean enough position. So if currently you have foundational levels of body fat to lose, let's get that off first before you commit to a building phase. So I hope that this was helpful for any of you guys who are looking to tone up and build muscle this year. And also if you've been wondering whether you should cut or whether you should bulk first. Now, let me know in the comments below where you are currently on your journey, what you've been struggling with personally so that I can get back to you. And otherwise, if you have not joined me over on Instagram, that's czia.fit, would love to see you there. And if you're new here, make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!